Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to the live stream. I want to welcome back all the subscribers and to all newcomers who have just discovered the channel this morning for the first time. I want to welcome you to the channel as well. We're here Thursday, January 18th. I'm ready for a good day of trading. Let's hope for a good day of trading. But either way, I'm sure we'll have a good time just hanging out and discussing what the market is offering us. And let's take a look and say hello to some of the chat room. Let's see, Crypto Queen, Elena, Caveman, William, Vivian. Good morning, all. Yeah, I was gonna say, Caveman. Man, it's you might want to sit this one out. But I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Sounds like everything went well yesterday, and you're just on the road to recovery. So that's good to see. Good to hear. Let's see, Bob, welcome back. Yanis, welcome back. All right, let's give everyone another minute or so, and then we'll do the quick top down and get ready for the opening bell. All right, so we'll get started here really quickly. We'll start with the dollar. Here on the daily, we see that so far today we've had it's poked out of this fair value gap to the upside. We'll have to wait and see where it closes today because we can see what happened yesterday, where it was able to make good progress outside of this gap, but it did retrace back prior to the end of the day. So we'll keep paying attention to today's candle to see if it does the same or if it closes somewhere up here. But we do have our pool of liquidity marked out as above here at 104.263. We have equal highs or relative equal highs, 3 or 4 candles here. Not to mention, we also have this one from November 22nd. So they're all around the same level there. And that's where we feel the draw of liquidity is for the dollar. So that is higher prices. Let's drop down. Let's see, is there anything below? Okay, so it did trade today into the fair value gap here, and then we saw the rejection to the upside. So there has been some retracement in this area. Let's remove some of these lines that we don't need anymore. Right. Dropping it down. All right, on the 4-hour, we have yesterday's high that it looks like it's pushing towards and that it hasn't reached yet. Let's see. Yeah, we have an even larger fair value gap on the 4-hour that it's inside of, that it hasn't pressed out of yet. Yesterday, just barely got out of it, and that's when we saw a decline back into the range and below some of the lows of yesterday. And so today, as we see price pushing up, we want to see exactly how far can it go. Will it pass yesterday's highs, or will it fail? And then we start seeing lows. Let's get down to the hour. Okay. Not a lot extra to add here for the hour, because we still basically have the same highs. There are not any fair value gaps it is inside of right now. We do have some below if it wants to retrace some more. There's a few down here. We also have the midnight open. Otherwise, that's all we have for the dollar. So we still see the drawn liquidity as being higher than where we currently are, but it's inside of several fair value gaps, bearish fair value gaps that so far is either holding price or is forcing it to retrace once it does make some progress. Right. Get back over, grab ES. We're going to start here on the weekly. You can see ES is in a consolidation period for the last few weeks, basically since the year started. Even the last week of the year just really hasn't had a lot of progress here. Has not. We haven't taken it last week's high yet, so we do have that as one of the targets of the week, is to sweep last week's high. So we'll continue looking for that one. Let's get down to the daily. All right, interesting. We're kind of in the middle, halfway between a zone. So when we made this high over here, key low remained at this spot, which was taken, which would cause us to start looking for bearish momentum and maybe some lows. But we are really close to the highs still. And if I go and measure this, I think we're about halfway in between this high here and then the swing low. Yep. So we're right here at 50%. So it's bit indecisive at the moment. And so we want to be careful of where we decide to take entries and where we have targets for ES, just because it's kind of indecisive and it's right in between this high and this low. So the last swing periods. So let's just keep that in mind. The fair value guys below us appear to be holding and providing support, especially the one that has just been touched. And so we do see that as a positive trend, which can send prices higher, which gives us equal highs here as well as equal highs here. So we're still targeting last week's high as this week's goal and target. Okay, let's measure here. See that on the retracement, we made it all the way down to 78%, a little further, not quite to 83.5, but a pretty deep retracement. That gives us a little comfort in this area being traded into and being balanced now. That price can move away and doesn't have to return down here, which gives us more confidence as we're looking for last week's highs to be swept. As I mentioned during the last frame, is that we are looking for last week's highs. This cluster right here, essentially, from December 28th and into 29th. Right, we're going to move over to NQ and do the same thing. All right, here on the weekly chart, a big push into this gap here 2 weeks ago with a sizable recovery of nearly the same size. And so far this week, mostly yesterday, with a big push down into half of this candle. Half of this candle got traded into yesterday. And now we see a rejection to the upside, which would give us this swing high as a target, 17,165. As we then also look for swing highs in this area as well. Let's be careful just because we do look at the dollar and we see the dollar pushing for higher prices. And so we want to make sure that this the rally from yesterday isn't short-lived and that we're not looking for lower prices as well here. Just like we looked at ES and we saw the ES did break structure and was looking and could potentially be looking for lower prices. And we want to make sure that we're not also looking for the same on the daily chart for Nasdaq as well. So we are bullish. We're bullish for Nasdaq. We just want to make sure that the dollar is cooperating the way that we want it to, and that we won't have to wait another day and maybe resume bullish tomorrow or look for last week's highs that way. But we also see the same here, where it's just a little consolidation, the same as we saw on ES. So that's another reason to be cautious, is that prices really stand in this range and has for the last week. But as I said, we are still looking for 17,173. Right. Play we had yesterday didn't quite make it to the fair value gap here, so we have not traded in there yet. It doesn't appear to be a breakaway gap, so we could see that as well. Let's keep in mind that today we've already had our news session. So news was released this morning at 8:30. Unemployment claims came in below expectation, which is good for the dollar. So is building permits came in above expectation. But we did have Philly Fed Manufacturing Index retract a bit further than they forecasted. It was right in line with last month's retraction of 10% or 10 basis points. And the forecast for this month was at minus 6.6. All right. Yeah, just looking at price action here from the daily, it definitely looks like we could see bullish momentum and get up to these highs. It's just we failed at this fair value gap right here in the 046 level. 1, 2, 3, 3 times. And today it looks like we've already touched it possibly again. Yes, we already touched it as well today. So let's just look at today's daily high, and let's keep that level in mind just in case it becomes a barrier for progress. All right, with that, let's jump down and let's watch the opening bell. And if there's anything more to talk about in the short term, we will. Otherwise, we're going to get ready for a good morning of trading and look to see if we find an entry soon. So I was a little long-winded, and we did miss the opening bell here, but this is the candle. It's been going on now for 40 seconds or so. Tuesday open. Let's remove that. I don't think we need it. All right, Luis. Good job. Good job, Luis. Happy that you have reached your target and you have now due for a payout. Mathematical genius. Welcome back. Good morning. All right, this morning's high has already been taken. Let me go ahead and put back up the session highs. All right, Asia low never was traded back to, so that one's still open. London low never traded back to. All right, so the Asia low and the London low are two levels, two levels that have not been traded back to this morning. And that's at 835 and 870 respectively. Elena, this indicator that I'm using that gives me these levels, it's a paid indicator, so it's not a free one. Sorry about that. Um, but as I mentioned, there should be a free one or something similar inside of TradingView. I'm just not familiar with which one it is. But the one that I use is TGFX previous day high and low and session high and low. It's not a free one. Sorry. All right, I'm just going to check on some confluence here. And it looks like so far the dollar is pushing lower. I'm on the hourly, pretty much trying to push down to the opening range of the 8 o'clock hour for the dollar. We have the Dow is pretty indecisive at the moment. There's wicks above and below the body, and the candle body is pretty small at the moment. Then we have the S&P, very similar to the Nasdaq, with the exception that Nasdaq has taken the high of last hour is also at its high of the day, whereas S&P and the Dow are not at their highs of the day. All right, so right now, not a lot of the indices are not in sequence right now. So I'm gonna give them a little moment and see if they can't get in sequence in the next few minutes, and see if we can get a little stronger price action with less resistance. I'll let price settle for just a little bit. All right, Antonio, good morning. Oh, Crypto Queen, excellent, awesome. Elena, yeah, you should use that. I'm sure that's a free one that does the same thing as mine. So that's probably a good one to use. Matter of fact, I should probably save that for future reference. Ooh, all-time high today? Not sure. I don't think so. No, because if we're looking for all-time highs, I think we are still looking at back in November of 2021. So we still have a ways to go. That's at 17,700. But possibly a yearly high. Let me just All right, we can see here. I have the dollar on the left, the Dow in the center, and S&P on the far right. And this is the hourly chart. We can see that for S&P and for the Dow, they're not moving together. Even this morning, the Dow has had 4 consecutive hours of selling, where the S&P has done pretty much the opposite, with the exception of the 8 o'clock hour when news was released. We also have several highs swept on the S&P, whereas the Dow is pretty much consolidating. And then we're looking at Nasdaq, so you can see what Nasdaq is doing. But this is what I mean, like where the indices are doing their own thing and not moving together. We also have the dollar. Um, it's retracing now, but before it was selling quite a bit. And so I'm just going to let price settle a bit, and once these two are moving the same as Nasdaq, then I'll look for an entry. Right. Another thing that we should be aware of this morning, if I just break back down to the hourly chart and we look at where we started at yesterday. So we started at yesterday and it just kind of, during the Asia session, we got a consolidation. But right at midnight, we were at 848, so around 850. And now we're at 050. So it's already moved 200 points during midnight, early London, and pre-market New York. And so let's just keep that in mind as well as we're looking for um, price targets for any setups we see this morning, is that it's already moved 200 points this morning. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we get either slower movement or some level of retracement. And not a lot, maybe some more retracement down into this area. Okay, new high for Nasdaq so far. Just broke through again. I'm just measuring the price leg from 5 o'clock until now, and we got a retracement exactly down to 50%, maybe just a couple ticks more, and then it started buying up afterwards. All right. So, everyone who was on the live stream yesterday, whether it's the morning or the afternoon, I know definitely in the morning we talked about it quite a bit. We had the regular trading hour gap that we thought we were trading to yesterday, and each time we pressed up, we always thought that maybe that was an opportunity to dig into the gap. And yesterday, for whatever reason, it just was not able to do so, and it kept rejecting each time, up until the very, very end, where it made some progress, but not a lot. But what we had throughout the London session, so this 200-point move I just spoke about overnight that happened, it traded back through this zone, but obviously not during regular trading hours again. So now we have a similar gap on this side, but now potentially to trade down to the exact same gap. So I just wanted to highlight that as well for anyone who likes to monitor these gaps and likes to trade the retracement back into, that we essentially have about the same size gap today, just we might trade the opposite direction. So just wanted to highlight that, and I'm going to move back to electronic trading hours. Hey, CEO, I think maybe we have different highs for NQ because I have toggled and selected the adjust for, um, what was the adjustment for? Yeah, adjust for contract changes. It's a little button on TradingView, and I think that maybe is the difference between where I'm showing all-time high at 17,700 and you're showing it at 17,100. Let me see who mentioned that busy on December 29th. Okay, Luis. Yep, I just noticed that I was looking at the hourly candle, hourly chart, and I went back to December 29th, and I saw that busy sitting right there with several of them. Well, a SIBI, sorry, it is a sell side imbalance. All right, let's see what price does now that it seems like it's bouncing off the 830. Yep, but this is where we are now. Price is right around here, 17,037, 38. We have this bearish fair value gap right here all the way up until we get to 17,074. We're going to be dealing with this fair value gap. We have relative equal highs here at 105. So I'm going to take this. Yeah. All right, there we go. There we go. So we have our next two levels marked up. They look really evenly spaced, but maybe that's a coincidence. Okay, let's get down. Mhm. Yeah, crypto queen. I do the same. I have here on my chart. I have the quarterly down here that I trade out of, but my historical like chart markups on the weekly or on the daily time frame, I use the continuous contract just so I can see back a year or 2 years or wherever the last time we revisited an area. So yeah, you're spot on with that. Thanks, Louise. I appreciate it. Dustin, welcome back. Okay, you have it at 17,174. Okay. Yeah, I think it's just because of my adjusting for the contract changes. I think it has it at 17,700 or so. Yep, just want to show everybody where I'm at, just so people understand. So here on the weekly contract. Oops. Oh, sorry. I need to go to the continuous. Yep. So here, yeah, it's showing. Huh, that's strange. Yep. So I'm showing a high 17,700 here, from November of 2021. And that's because I pressed this adjust for contract changes, this B adjust button at the bottom right here. Not sure you guys use it or not, but it will adjust the value. So when I press it again, then you can see these levels have now been brought back down to area. And then you show the all-time high being 17.1, which happened December of 2023 is the all-time high. So um, yeah, I have that toggled on. And so that's why we have different charts. And so just adjust for that. You can leave your charts where they are. I'm not saying you have to change your charts, um, but just so we have an understanding of why our values are different. Oops. Yeah, and to be honest, guys, I'm not here. I can't tell you which one is right and which one is wrong. It's just I just leave it where it is, and since that's the one that I've been looking at for you know all year, I'm just going to continue that way. But I'm not telling you guys to change how your charts are set up. All right, Silver Bullet Traders, we're coming up in about 5 minutes. I'm going to run and refill my coffee so I'm ready just before 10 o'clock turns over. So I'll be right back. Give me like 2 minutes maybe. Back. All right, still about 3 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour. Yeah, where are you trading from, William? Hmm. Oh, California. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Because William, I'm in Mountain Time, so you're even 1 hour behind me. Caveman, not yet, not quite yet. 10 o'clock starts in 2 more minutes. Okay, 10 o'clock, here we are. Yes, absolutely. I used to start my mornings at 10 o'clock, William, and I found that I wasn't ready for the trades that happen at 10 o'clock or 10:05 or 10:10. And so at the urging from some of the subscribers here, we start now at 9:15. So I do find myself in a better position at 10 o'clock after having watched the markets for 45 minutes at that moment. So it does help out quite a bit to sit here for half hour to an hour before I'm really ready to trade. Um, but you're right, William. I'm basically waking up in you know 20, 30 minutes after I wake up. I'm sitting here in the chair getting ready to go. And so yeah, it would be nicer if I was on the East Coast so I could wake up at a regular time and have breakfast and relax for a bit before the markets start. But one of the good things is my day is finished and it's still 2 p.m. and I can go out and do some other things. Oh, okay. All right, caveman. Yeah, definitely keep your heart rate down and make sure your recovery is moving smoothly. Good morning, Brad. Welcome back. All right, looks like maybe we're gonna push towards this lower level at 976. Right now, it's these relative equal lows, so we'll see what the reaction is from here. Okay, so here we go, digging into the regular trading hours gap for the first time, finally in that area. So now we want to see if we get rejected out like yesterday, where we could barely get in and kept getting pushed downwards. We'll see now if we get lifted up or if price is able to continue pushing in this area. But remember, this area is from roughly 17,000 flat all the way down to 860. All right, just keep that in mind. I'll switch back to the 5 minute once this macro is finished. Just want to see all the candles during this period to see what happens. Hmm. Yeah, Bob, you know what's interesting about what you just mentioned is that a lot of times a reversal happens at 10:30. $17.020. Okay. Mm. So that would so Brad, that would be all this resistance that we keep seeing is your pivot point at 17.020, which is also the 8:30 open, I believe. Yep. Good. All right, we have the battle between two fair value gaps, the lower one and the upper one. And let's measure this area once again. 17.010 is halfway between this price leg, Brad. I think it's right on where you have your pivot point, so that's good. Yep, shooter, you're right. Sell and premium. So I was just looking to see. That's exactly why I was measuring, because I'm not only looking at this range and how I want to measure that, but I'm also looking at the two fair value gaps above where we are now, and which one of those might be in play. Okay. All right, so it looks like we only have fair value gaps on the 4 minutes and down. And this upper one seems to only be on the 1 minute chart. Okay, let's get rid of these. With VWAP at 976. 976. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm not sure how far down, but we do, and I have been showing the regular trading hours as far as how far down we could go, and just cover um, the range between 1800 and 930 this morning. And so that, I believe that range was 140 points or 160. It was a large range, and so we could play into that entire area. And here seems to be where the sell would have been. Jesus, why didn't I take that? At 21, come out at 86. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, no, you're not distracting me. No, I'm not. It's the way the market's moving now. It's like I'm not 100% sold on what's happening. I see the other two indices buying up, and I'm looking at a short on Nasdaq, and I see the dollar being indecisive. So price action right now is just not extremely strong. Since the opening bell at 9:30, we have an opening range high of 17,044, a low of 0.76, so about 75 points or 70 points or so. But we can see it hasn't moved out of here since 9:30. And so for 45 minutes, we just had price just kind of bounce around. And with the other indices not really falling in line, it's not giving me the warm and fuzzies about this trade. And the one thing I've learned throughout my trading history is that I don't have to take every trade, and not every trade is my trade. Um, so you weren't distracting me. I was looking at it, but I'm not sold. Why I would sell here? Sure. Crypto Queen. So it's mostly based on market structure here. So we know we were bullish, right? So as we're making new highs, we're adjusting where the low is for market structure change, market structure shift, which was here for on the low side sale, right? Then we had a buy up. When we went here and took out this high, now we turn back bullish, and we then take the low of that leg, that price leg, which actually, the low of the price leg would be here, would be the key low for this high. Then we had it break down and make a new high. So then this became the key low, 17,011, right? Once this high was made at 941. But what we had just before 10 o'clock is we had a breakdown in price below this low, which turned us back bullish. And so, I'm sorry, back bearish. It turned us back bearish where I'm now looking for shorts, unless we see these highs swept at 10 o'clock or something afterwards. So I wanted to wait and see how price settled, and it didn't retake these highs. So it still was showing. And then we had a breakdown in price, sweeping the lows that had just been made, further confirming bearish price movement. And on top of that, it gave me fair value gaps. These fair value gaps that it gave is what would force me to start looking for shorts, and ignore these long tendencies here based on what price action just did. Now, if I took that, it would be on a short-term basis, because for the most part we have been bullish, And so I would be looking for 30, 40, 50 points down, but not necessarily looking to run for 150 points or so. But that's why I would be looking for a short. It'd be based on price, uh, the way market structure has been trading since about 9:30, and then how we had these market structure shifts by sweeping these lows to the downside and creating fair value gaps to trade out of. But since price isn't in sync with the other indices, this could be a fake out, and so for that reason, I'm not sold. All right, so we did get an 83% retracement here. Right, if Nasdaq breaks out and clips these highs, turn us back bullish, then Nasdaq will join the other two indices. We will have them in unison together, and the dollar is now starting to sell. Right, so this is our high to switch back bullish. We need to eclipse this high here at 041 or 042. But as I mentioned this morning, we did get about a 200-point move over during the Asia and London session. And so um, price action may be exhausted a bit this morning. And so we may have to wait for a setup. Yep. Yeah. So crypto queen, I guess if you're looking for a bearish breaker, I think this would be what you're looking at. Good job, Brad. You got out at 17,035. Jeez. Talk about choosing tops. 17,056. Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah, yeah, you're right. From the morning, January 11th, the morning AM session. Mm-hmm. Yeah, be careful, Brad. Don't be too eager to jump back in the market. Yeah, you're right, Vivian. Once it comes out of this consolidation, we should have a better indication of what's going to happen, and where we might see price move in the short term. ICT kill zones. Okay, looks pretty good. Do. All right. When the time comes, can you explain to us how you enter continuation trades and what confluences you look at if you go long today instead of a short? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll walk you through the trade when the time comes that I see a setup that I like. I will explain to you what I'm looking at and why I like it. Grand Canyon National Park. Hike will take us up to 103 by the end of the day. Yeah, yeah, Brad, you're right. If you have the free version of TradingView, you're limited to two indicators, and so you do have to be selective on which indicators you use. Okay, so you're good on reversals. It's just the continuation. So like if you see a big move in London and then New York is going to continue that move, you're saying you're not good at choosing those. Okay. Um, I'm not sure that's my strength either, but I'll give you whatever insight I have when that setup comes. Let's just look at something here. Okay. Get back over and take a peek and see where we are on the other indices. Right, the other two indices are so far pushing up this hour. Not a lot of progress to talk about, but they've definitely been bullish. On Nasdaq, we're right back at the opening price, right here, 10 o'clock at 17,027. So we're right there. Not a lot of progress this hour either, and the dollar is looking just like Nasdaq. So we'll give them a few more minutes and see if they can't get together. Waiting for the dollar to fail and push lower, but we'll see if that happens. Do-it-yourself custom strat builder. I don't think I've ever heard of that, Brad. Great, 10:30 now, so half past the hour. Let's see if we get better price action now. Now that we've given it 30 minutes into the new hour, for it to bounce up and down and not really make any progress. Let's see if now is the time that it wants to move. There it is. All right. Finally broke out of that range, so we'll go ahead and remove these markers. Clean up our screen a bit. Let's go back to the 5 minutes so we have a larger time range. Right back to the 8:30 open right here at 019. Okay, still not quite synced up yet. Good boy. Hmm. Yeah, still trading in the zone, still playing around, not really wanting to commit to either direction. All right, I'm gonna go and get my last cup of coffee this morning. I'll be back in about 60 seconds. Sorry about that. Small family emergency, but all good now. Shouldn't be DB. Did you go to Tradovate's website and log into their platform first? Anyway, DB, if you stay on at the end of the session this morning, I'll help you. I'll help you get through that. Hmm. Yeah, the dollar is finally pushing downwards, which is a good sign. I was waiting for it to fail, and looks like it's going to now. We're having a good strong push from the Dow and from the S&P right now, and finally, Nasdaq is in line. So it's taken this much time for the indices to now get in alignment, and we can see now that price is moving because of it. Let's see how far we go. I do have a area marked here at 107. One oh seven is about 40 points from where we are now, so that's a pretty sizable trade if we get that far. Okay. Tesla and Apple not pushing for me to give confidence. Okay, that's actually not bad, Dustin, to have that kind of confluence of some of the major holdings of the indices to look and see if those are also moving, because that's going to really drive the price of the indices. Let me go down to a smaller time frame. I just want to see a few more candles. 88. Yeah, this morning so far just hasn't been really favorable. I hope most of you have protected your capital. You really want to use your capital when prices or when price action is more favorable. And so for that reason, I'm hoping that many of you have decided to stay out of the market so far this morning. Doesn't mean that the next 15, 20 minutes of this hour or the next hour can't be exactly what we want it to be. But so far, I hope many of you have found comfort in not trading so far. Hmm. All right, so these two price legs here. So from this low to this high, retrace 88%. And then from this low to this high, retrace 88%. If this leg does the same retracement to 88%, we'll be back at the 8:30 open. Okay, be right here to 8:30 open, and it'll drop just below that. So I wonder if that's going to be another retest of the level. But as all the others have dug through the 8:30 and still come out of it, dug through and come out, this one may just go down, touch it barely, and then come out. So we'll see. I'm just looking for patterns and seeing what price may do next. All right. So you got 6 more entries on the micro NQ at 44. Okay. Yep. No, I haven't had those same issues, DB. But I tell you what, let's circle back at in an hour and 15 minutes when the session's over. Just stay on, and I'll see if I can't walk you through the process and see if there's a quick solution. If not, then obviously we'll need to use the help desk at at Topstep. But let's give it a try first at the end of this session. So just stay on, please. Hey, right. So Nasdaq definitely took out its pre-market levels. So we're trading at the high of the day right now. But ES, the high of the day was during the 8 o'clock hour. So news provided a sharp movement downwards that ES is still trying to overcome now. So ES would need to get above 47.97. So it's not a lot, not a long way to go. It's another 5 points or so from where it is now. But that's where ES needs to get in order to take out the pre-market highs, which would then have it moving towards highs from the 16th, from Tuesday of this week. As we look at the Dow's having similar issues, but its pre-market high was during the 6 o'clock hour. Yeah, so the tendency is definitely bullish. It's moving pretty slow and lethargically. So if you take an entry, you definitely want to have a good stop loss on it, and you want to be patient because it doesn't look like it's going anywhere fast. But you can see that it's making slow progress and that the lows are being protected. We have the swing lows not being traded back to. Remove some of these lines. I just wanted to make the point that swing lows have not been traded into and are being protected. So bullish momentum is definitely in play. It's just really slow. And there's the deep pullbacks as well. So moving your stop loss is probably not advised. Just looking at whether this was a 2022 model, it looks like it was. A little hindsight now. I definitely didn't see it when at the time it was forming, but it looks like we got a sweep of this low. Then an energetic move upwards with fair value gap. Trade back in, and then a trade out. Hmm. Okay, yep. Still wasn't a trade for me. Um, I would say crypto queen. This is where you want to get onto a higher time frame, right? So you can you can go to 5 minute or so. Um, and then you're really going to be trading towards these next pools of liquidity. It's where you're going to go. But just, you just try to find somewhere where you could find that level of confluence where you, not that you know it's going there, but you have a really good indication that that's where it's going. Right. Okay. All right. So in this case, on the hourly, I can see the next target that I have laced here is, or have marked here, is equal highs. So from there, if I was really confident that price was moving towards those equal highs and that was the next pool of liquidity, then I want to go and I want to look at where we are now. I want to see where we came from and what happened when we did that. All right, so we see that we swept a low there and we traded into a fair value gap here. Right, so sweeping liquidity, hitting a pool of liquidity, and then energetically moving outward. Then yeah, absolutely, I would set my sights here, and I'd be willing to trade until then, which is only about 50 points. And that's how I would figure out whether I wanted to continue on with the long or whether I was looking for a reversal of some kind. Is that I'm looking for the next pool of liquidity, and until it hits that, I hold my position. But I'm probably not the best person at continuations or knowing like exactly the range of the day, because I generally take my trades one at a time, and each trade setup has its own target, not necessarily related to the daily target. But just remember, if you're looking for a long or you're looking for a continuation, you want to get in on discount. So you want to find a position where you're able to take the measurement and find a position in a discounted position and discounted location. So in this case, what we see is we're breaking down. I like 71% as a retracement level. So far this morning, it's been deeper. It's been in, especially on the shorter legs, it's been down into the 78 or 88 level. We have a fair value gap here. So if I was looking long, that would be a sweet spot that I would be hoping that price would trade into. Yeah, I would say the afternoon generally would provide a better trading opportunity because anything's better than what we've seen so far. But we'll have to wait and see because, as I mentioned, it's one thing to have stalled prices, another thing to have had a large range already in your day. So that's a tough thing when you wake up in the morning and London has already had a sizable move and done a good amount for the market. Is that you may have missed majority of the easy moves for the day. Um, and it happens that way sometimes. Sometimes London, it looks like what we're dealing with now, and then New York has all the movement of the day. So it's a little give and take there. The key is identifying it and protecting yourself once you see it. Yep. Okay, Vivian. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. 11:30, 12, 1, and 2:15 today. Okay, minutes, 2 minutes left on the 30-minute candle. minute. Okay, 30-minute candle just completed. Hmm. All right, everyone, 11 o'clock. So we have passed the 10 o'clock hour, and it didn't provide very much for us. And so far, the 11 o'clock hour is showing a little weakness, already dropping in price. Let me go back with my measurement. Okay, we have reached just about 50%. I think we're a couple ticks away. I like the 71% level. I like that the 830 open cuts this candle in half. Mm-hmm. Vivian's in on the pullback. Okay. Good job, Vivian. All right, Vivian, I don't know what your targets are, but you have relative equal lows here at 987. Obviously, you have the fair value gap at 009 and a half, and you have the 830 open at 019. King 10 for recess and bounce is my plan for the rest of the day. Um, yeah, Brad, if we're gonna bounce, I think this is a really good area for it to bounce. You're down at 17,010 because you get the optimal trade entry retracement, you get a fair value gap, you have another retest at 830 open, you have hitting 50% of the wick. There's a lot of confluence right here. But the thing we need to see is we need to see the indices and the dollar doing something opposite. Right now, all three indices and the dollar are all four selling right now. So it doesn't give me a lot of confidence that price is going to react the way that I want it to, or it's going to react the way that the algo normally it reacts. Um, so for that reason, I would be a little cautious about entering there. But if there was an area to look at that I would expect a bounce to happen, that's probably the most likely. Okay, so on the 5 minute, we're going to be bullish until we get down to 987, but I'm going to drop down to the 1 minute and see if there's anything else happening over here. Okay. As far as fair value gaps is concerned, looks like there was an entry right here. And another one right here. Just make those larger for you. So this one's huge right here. Hmm. Yep. 1 to 2 trade out of here gets us down right in that 78% area that I was talking about, below the 830 open, below 71%. Someone took a short from this location. Hmm. 22 points would be at 17,025, so not too far off. Nice. Okay. So you're a scalper. You trade a 15-second entry and focus in higher time frame imbalances. Okay. 15, 1 hour, 4 hour. Awesome. Good job, Luis. Well, glad you were able to pass. I have a fixed RR. So whenever I take an entry, I'm looking at a 1 to 2 fixed RR. It's been the most stable for me. Trying to pick highs, trying to pick next pools of liquidity. Um, Not only sometimes you're wrong, but in other cases you're right, but it just takes so long to get there, and you have retracements in the middle, and you have an opportunity to end your trade prematurely. So just for the way I trade now and the way that things have worked out for me, I like to take a 1 to 2. As I mentioned yesterday, I want to start taking more trades with additional contracts so I can let runners go. But for the most part, I've been taking 1 or 2 contracts. So it didn't allow me with the flexibility to just let trades run without securing some profits. So I always did a 1 to 2 so I could secure profits. But I see what you're saying, Crypto Queen. In many cases, if I win a trade at 20 handles or 25 handles, then the full price leg ended up going 70 handles, and I only got the first 25. So in those cases, I do usually feel like I left something on the table. But until I start taking 3, 4 contract trades, I'm going to stick to my fixed RR of 1 to 2. 1 minute fair value gap bounce. And candle body sitting right on 50% of this fair value gap. Right? Anyone who entered on the lower fair bearish fair value gap that was right here, and you're close to having your trade invalidated, at least on the markup that I have with a 1 to 2 trade. Yep, so that gets rid of this one. All right, all right. So we have quite a few traders in the room. Good morning to all the newcomers. I recognize there's got to be quite a few newcomers. If you can do me a favor and in the chat, introduce yourself as to who you are, where you're coming from, and maybe a small statement about how long you've been trading or what trading style or anything, just to introduce yourself. Wow, 116 ticks, Crypto Queen. That's excellent. About 30 points. That's awesome. But you're right, not quite 1 to 2, but I don't think the verdict's out on this one yet. Let's see where it lands. Yep, on the 5 minute, never really got down here. Never made it. Now we see it pushing up. All right, we'll push these trades up against each other. Holy smokes. 28-point stop loss. Let me see if we can't find one that's a little bit smaller. Okay, this could do. Hmm. All right. So yeah, long would have already delivered. If someone took that long, let's see if they were a little more cautious and had a larger stop loss, what that means. Yeah, okay, so if they had a stop loss of 25, then they would be taking a profit of almost 50. But let's get rid of this stuff. Still want to hold our original, which was a short. 116 ticks on a short. Awesome, Brad. Sweet. It's more than $500. That's pretty good. Yep, Luis, I agree with you. So yeah, start with the 2022, get over into the 2023, and once you think that you have enough information, stop absorbing more and get to practicing and finding your unique model that you agree with, one that matches your risk style, your trading style, and just practice, practice, practice. Yep. All right, Brian, welcome. Good to have you, Brian. Good to have you in the room. 2020s, crypto and indices from US. Ready to start making real money. All right, crypto queen. Well, again, welcome to the room. Glad to have you. And yeah, let's make some money. Okay. Yeah, the 2022, Brad, I would say the most important parts of 2022 is the first, I think it's 18 episodes. So follow those really closely. All the ones after that, for the most part, there's only a handful of new things that he talks about. Mostly it's examples. And so he's just walking you through the daily setups. And so I wouldn't put as much attention there, but definitely you want to make sure that you're focusing on the first 18 to 20 videos. Yep. All right, so it looks like the shorts definitely didn't work out. So anyone who got this original 25 to 30 points, that's all that short was going to deliver, unless your stop is above here, which I'm not sure why anyone would have a stop that large. But it definitely delivered for whoever went long down here as well. I'll go back with the original setup. And whoops, sorry, not on the 30-second. I know everyone doesn't have access to the 30-second. So I'm going to go back to the 1 minute. And we'll see if it gets up here, but it's a sizable trade. But it's already 36 points up. May also go and check on the dollar and see where everything else is trading. Hmm. Yeah, Nasdaq is the only indice this morning that's been moving towards higher highs and sweeping the high of the previous hour. S&P has just been consolidating since we opened up this morning. And I'm sorry, the Dow has really been consolidating for 2 days now. Yeah, since about yesterday at midnight, it's pretty much in the same exact spot for the last 2 days. So yeah, a little wonky price action this morning. Nothing to give us the warm and fuzzies, but as you can see, you can still win trades. It's just not for everyone, and definitely not for me. you believe 1003 made the low of the day. Okay. The sweep of this low here. So we had a low at 1003 and then a sweep of that at 1005, and then price started to move. Yeah, break even is not bad, Brad. You'll find that getting out of the rut of break even is more psychology related and not technicals. Oh, I broke 100. Okay. Didn't realize that. Oh, 101. There we go. Congrats to all of you for being here. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support that you all are giving. It would be nice to have more likes, but I'm not going to push that right now. Right now, I'm just happy that you guys are in the room and you're finding value, so you're staying in the room. Um, only thing I can suggest is like I did yesterday, instead of saying hit the like and subscribe, I know you'll do that if that's how you're feeling. But consider sharing for any other traders that you may know, just in case they want to join our live stream or if they want to come check us out and see how things go. I think sharing with people that you trust would be good. And it also gives you um, that it'll allow you to further that type of trading relationship with that person. You guys will have something similar to talk about. But if you could share with your friends, that's probably the biggest thank you could give me. All right, and runners Ray scaled out. Okay, just exited that long. Look at that, Vivian. Good job, Vivian. Reached the highs from December 28th. Good luck with the runners. Yep. Yep, you're right. There's definitely liquidity above us. Price has just been slow to get there this morning, but as you can see, it's still making higher highs. It's still protecting those lows. I mean, it eventually swept these lows, but that was to get down into a fair value gap so it could then come back and take out the highs. And you see all these lows still being protected, not being touched. Anyone to enter down here, you took heat from about 35 down to 27. So you took about 8 points, which probably wasn't that comfortable, but it was short lived. For 1 minute, the next minute you were already making progress and then you were out. Okay, haven't quite met the 57 point target here, but it did pull in 53. So anyone who got in at the very edge of the fair value gap, you saw your trade go in positive 50 points, which on a mini level would be $1,000. On a micro level, 100, but still. Mm. Brian, I'm not familiar with options, so sorry. Someone else in the room may have to help you with that one. I don't. Yeah, I've never traded options, and I'm not 100% sure how they work. Go back and check on our other friends at the Dow and S&P. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're finally getting them in sync now. Finally, right as we're heading into 11:30. Yep. Yeah, you're right. How to get in with confidence. It's same for me, Crypto Queen. It's I don't want to trade just because others are having success. I'm happy for them, and clearly they're seeing things that I'm not seeing. But yeah, don't have FOMO. Just just sit on the side until you find something that you're confident in, and then take that trade. Because even if you enter a trade here, if you're not confident, it's going to be hard to manage it. Oh, William, awesome. That is amazing. I'm glad that you are finding value in the channel and that it's helping your trade, your trading, and you're moving forward in your journey. Up 13% is an amazing. And you say since last week? Holy cow. That I'm sure most people would love to have 13% returns in a year, much less a month, much less a week. So congratulations, man. That's awesome. All right. If I'm not mistaken, uh, Crypto Queen, it sounds like Vivian is saying when you find a bullish setup like this one with the bullish fair value gap in discount, right? So you have your measurement below 50%. If you find a bullish setup somewhere down here, you take it and you target previous highs. So you'd have been running from 0.34 and your target would have been at 0.80 roughly. So that's still 45 points, which is a more than solid trade. And I think that's what she was saying. Brian, we're all trading futures. So many of us are either using Topstep or Apex mostly to trade futures. But like Vivian was saying, she and William both are doing CFDs, which are through other funded accounts. I'm sorry, other funded brokers. So like FTMO or My Forex Funds or any of those. Um, Mostly those are the ones that specialize in Forex, but they will allow you to trade NAS 100 or S&P 500, but CFDs as opposed to futures. And so I think that's the difference. So we have two different groups of traders in here. Some are doing CFDs because they also have the option of doing Forex, and others are just doing futures. Yes, exactly. Crypto Queen. So what I was doing is so when I see a retracement, I'm just taking the previous leg as opposed to starting from the bottom and taking the entire move. Um, right. But the entire move, you can see it's still retraced past the 50% mark there. Um, but for the most part, I'm looking at the most recent leg. I'm expecting the low of that leg to hold. And so then that's when you would take below 50%, find yourself some PD array that you like, a bullish PD array, enter, set your fair value. Set your stop loss where it needs to be, and then watch your trade go to target. And as I'm speaking, this long, the 1 to 2, even though it was a 28.5 point stop loss, to make sure that it didn't go below this candle. Remember, fair value gap, candle to the left, extreme, and then go 1 to 2. And while that would have taken from 11:04 until now, it would have taken a little over 25 minutes to produce. But by accepting 29 points to stop loss, there was a reward of 57 and counting. Let's drop this guy. Let's drop this one as well. And we can get rid of the long tool. And also the Fibonacci. So now we're clean charts again. Still moving towards 17,107. Okay, yes. And Vivian, I think, yep, you can do those here as well. So we have the candles and you can select which ones you like. She, yep, I think it's these. So I know you're not the first person I've heard mention this style of candles, but don't have a lot of, I guess, experience with them. So I don't really know exactly how to use them, but they are available. No, I'm not going to hit the button. It's a bad habit. I've done it before. I used to do that, and it's just not good because you win one trade and then you'll try it and you'll lose three more, and it's just a bad habit to get into. So I like my setups, and if I miss a setup, I'm happy to watch and cheer you guys on until the next one. Um, a crypto queen. So the way I like to set up my stop losses is I enter at the very edge, and then I take the candle that made the fair value gap. So this one, and I go one candle to the left. So this candle right here, and I put my stop loss below the wick. That's why I was a little hesitant to get in this one, which is why I didn't take it, because the stop loss was so large. I like to keep my stops around 20 points, but I will extend to 25. Not comfortably, but I'll do it. And this one was at 28 and a quarter. So that's why I dropped down to the 30-second, and I was trying to find something that would reduce the size of my stop loss. But that's what I like to do. I take the candle that made the fair value gap, take the candle to the left and the extreme of that candle. And then from there, it's a 1 to 2. And then you just kind of watch things happen. And sometimes it moves in 5 or 10 minutes and you're done. And other times it can take as much as 30, 45 minutes. All right, TP hit. Sweet, man. Good job, Antonio. Yep, the low of the fair value gap. Sweet. All right. All right, everyone. We're down into our last 25 minutes or so. So I know the 10 o'clock hour, I remember telling everyone that it was, not the best. And if you didn't have an entry, not to lose your confidence, because there could be something that opens up for us in the next hour. And it certainly did right at 11 o'clock. So for all that took that entry, congratulations to you. I know some are still in with runners, or you got in maybe a little later because you missed the opening of it. But yeah, I'm really happy that quite a few of you were able to get winners during this difficult morning. That's an option. Going in when the stop loss is that large, to go in with micros as opposed to minis. I haven't traded micros. I mean, it probably wouldn't be that difficult, but that is definitely an option. Shooter, you're right. Heavy on the 15 and 5. Okay. Yep. Sorry about that, Armando. Just hang in there. Just hang in there. Continue to practice. Look and see if there's anything that you could have missed that aided you having your stop hit, and just go from there. But no one's perfect. No one, even the best traders, are not 100%. And so just stick with it. Took an entry at 90. Okay. All right, we're close to the top. So be careful if you took an entry at 90, because slightest retracement below these lows could take you out prior to reaching 107. But if you get to 107, consider that a pretty solid trade. That'll be, I guess, 17 points for you. TP at 105. Okay, that's not bad, Brad, to get out early. Because sometimes, price will get up to 103, 104, 105, and then just kind of play around or retrace on you. So that's a good idea. Um, no, I take that back. I usually do require a fair value gap. So if I'm looking for, like, if I have a Fibonacci up and I say I want to enter at 62% or so, that's my comfort zone. I'll look at where would my trade be invalidated. So is it invalidated at 88%? Is it invalidated at the actual swing low? How many points is that from 62? If that's a lot of points away, then maybe I'll reduce my entry and say, well, I'm not getting in until 71%, based on where I need to place my stop loss. And I'd usually like to have a fair value gap there. And if I don't have a fair value gap, then I'm going to need to see a market structure shift or something in price action that gives me the indication that we're going to go the opposite direction. But with a fair value gap, I can take that entry, put my stop loss where it needs to be, and then just wait for price to turn around on me. And if it doesn't, it's just a failed trade. But yeah, I generally like fair value gaps at those entry points, except for the 50%. If I'm looking to just retrace to 50% and then turn around on those, sometimes I don't require the fair value gap. But those are rare. Those are rare. I usually like to have a deeper retracement. Yep. And I definitely wait for price to come down. For the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so, however long I've been streaming, I've been trying to be very disciplined about waiting on the trade to come back to my level, as opposed to just taking an entry wherever I think that it's comfortable. And then if it comes to my level, have a second entry or so. It just hasn't been successful for me. It gets me into situations where I'm in drawdown too early, or the drawdown is too large. And so I'm trying to wait until it comes back to my entry. And in the case that it doesn't come, I mean, many of you who've been on the live stream for the past handful of weeks, you've seen me set up a long and it comes within 1 or 2 ticks and it doesn't tap me in, and I don't take that entry. I still won't jump in later. So try not to have FOMO. It's hard, but my discipline is getting better, especially since live streaming. But try your best to wait for it to come to your level. That's amazing, Ray. Jeez. 1,400 per account times 10. Jeez. Awesome. Thanks, Prakash. The entry at 11, it was here, Bob. It was down at this fair value gap, 17,034 and 3/4, or 17,035 flat. And this was the trade. Okay, Brad. Brad's out at break even. Okay. No, I'm still going for 2R. I'm a 2R trader, so I like it when 2R is below the high. But sometimes that means that it's a really small trade. But I'm usually a 2R even if it's above the high. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you have where you want to get tagged in, and then you go just a few ticks, um, just a few ticks away to ensure that you make sure you get in, especially if you're trying to get in with multiple contracts. Getting in too early and being punished for it. Yep. I know the feeling of getting in too early. It's not a great one. All right, folks, we see a breakdown in price now. It still has not reached the 107 level. It only got up to 102. It's another reason why getting out before those critical levels are a good thing. It'll probably still reach there, but then you're going to have to watch it come all the way back down, tap another fair value gap before it gets up there, and you'll have to wait a few more minutes. But yeah, you're right. Getting in too early and being punished for it. Trying to think of what can help you with that. Yeah, let me show you what used to happen to me a lot. So let's see. All right. So you see this area right here? This is where I used to always get stuck. So I'm watching price drop down. I see it sweep a low here. And then I see this candle right here. And I say, okay, that looks like an energetic candle. This became a fair value gap. This next candle traded down into it. So I would have taken that as a long, right? So this would have been my entry. Been there. This would have been where my short was. right? A 1 to 2 would have been this, but obviously if you were looking at like swing highs and things, you'd been targeting up here and you would have saw, your eyes would have got big and be like, oh man, I got it. And then all of a sudden this happens. It crashes through the bottom. It stops me out. And I'm sitting here wondering, okay, so it's going to go lower down to this new week opening gap. And then as soon as I think that, then this happens. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I missed the trade. And it was because I got in on this fair value gap instead of on this one or on this one, the next one. That was what plagued me quite a bit. And whenever I got stopped out, I stopped believing in the trade. And then I didn't want to take the re-entry. So when that happened, that's when I really started doing the breaker, because what the breaker allowed me to do was allow price to go. Whoops, let me go ahead and mark this up, especially when you're looking at price changing directions. What the breaker allowed was for the sweep of lows to happen, but also a breakout to the upside, where I can see that the direction that I was hoping it would go into, it did. And then I would have to wait for it to come back down. So I wouldn't get FOMO that I saw these candles run up and now I need to get in a trade because it's leaving without me. I'd have to wait for it to come back down. And if it didn't come back, then that wasn't my trade. I wasn't going to take it. And so getting in too early is mostly related to fear of missing out. So try to conquer that part, and getting in too early. You'll have more patience. Or if that's really difficult for you, just continue to check in with the channel, continue to follow, and I'll try to slow you down a bit. Three trades, grossed about 1,000. So not a bad day. That's bad. That's good actually. Yeah, Crypto Queen, you will be unstoppable. Uh, Crypto Queen, I'll show you how to do that. Thanks, Roger. I appreciate it. CEO. All right. So, Crypto Queen. So let's say you had this trade right here, right? And you get in and you're in for two contracts and you want to take a partial, right? The partial. So if you're in a long, your partial, let's say this was where we want to take our first partial here. You would go in and normally, or you could create a new order as a sell, or you could just go in and say, hey, I want to make a sell limit order at 17,085, right? And it'll put that there. I know I'm going the long way, but so for instance, you would have one. So it inch you into right down here. It'll start moving upwards. Your account will be building. And when it gets here, it'll close one contract. So when it gets to the ultimate end of your trade here, this two would only have one left, because this two also is going to shift down to one once this one activates and closes half of your trade. So to take partials, you do have to go in manually and put your partial locations, but it'll update your original trade as you start taking contracts off. Oops, sorry, let me remove this. Let's also take a measurement and just see where we are. There we go. Very near to 50% retracement. Very near, only a couple ticks away. Right. This is one of the reasons why it's always advised to take partials. Because as I mentioned, it's not that price won't make it up to 107. We have equal highs here, so it likely will return up here, sweep these equal highs, and take out 107. But if you took partials or you took off the lion's portion of your trade near the ultimate high, your trade would have been done around 11:30, about 20 minutes ago. And now we're still here 20 minutes later, and we've taken drawdown of about 20 points since the high of where it was. So it just, if you think about it from a mental capital standpoint, you're in the trade even longer, and you're dealing with potentially losing some of the profits you made, which will start to wear on you at some point. So not being greedy actually helps you exit before you get to the top, and saves a little of your mental capital, and gives you the lion's share of what you would have earned. Crypto Queen, did you were you able to understand what I was saying about taking partials, or do you need me to explain it some more? Hmm. All right, glad that worked out for you. It's awesome. But I will let me just give you some a little bit of advice, and you probably already know this. But one of the best things about using these long and short tools is because when you go in for the limit orders, just make sure your take profit and your stop loss are checked. By doing so, then it has those three: the buy price, and then the TP and the stop loss are all connected. If you just go in with the market execution, your buy price is going to be there. Then you're going to manually go in and put in your TP and your stop loss the way I just showed you about going in and putting in the opposite order at whatever those levels are. But they're not connected the same way. And so what'll happen is, like, let's say price shoots down and it takes out your stop loss. So now you're out of the trade. So it'll stop loss will take you out, but then your TP might still be hanging up in another area. So just pay attention to that and keep that in mind if you ever do market executions, because your TP won't be married up with your entry. You'll have to go in and cancel it because it'll still be sitting there. Yeah, you're right, Vivian. This morning session is just it's been moving along. It's been moving along really fast. Okay, crypto, awesome. Yeah, this morning has been a great session. We've had more people in the room at one time than we've normally had for an AM session. We've had more viewers in total than we normally have for an AM session. Our average view duration per person is longer than we normally have for an AM session. So today has been really good. I don't know why, but I do want to thank you all for what you've contributed to this morning session. It's been really good. It's been really good to see the growth of the room. It's also good to look in the chat and see the questions that are coming up and all the interactions between the members. So I'm very happy with the way things have gone, and this morning has been the highlight of that. Oh, thank you, Crypto Queen. Awesome. That is amazing. But you're right. Market execution does mean you're not prepared for the trade. You also usually get a bad fill. So it's going to be 1 or 2 points off from where you want it to get in just because, the candles are moving around. So you definitely want to make sure that you're doing limit orders if you can. Hey, I'm just trying to be an active member as well, just like all of you. But thank you, Vivian. That's good to hear. Oh, you're new. Okay. How long have you been trading? And also, where are you coming from? All right, caveman. Good to have you back, man. I'm glad you're feeling better, and don't do anything to hurt your wrist. Oh man, thanks for all the likes, everyone. Appreciate it. I'm sure YouTube is soaking that up. Hopefully, they'll push out the afternoon session, so we'll have even more people to join that session. And anyone else who also has time this afternoon, I'd love to see you back. If you could join us, that'd be amazing. Let's see. We got 3 or 4 minutes left. I know we do have one gentleman who is having issues with his Tradovate account, so I'm going to try to help him with that afternoon. But I do want to make sure that I answer any other trading questions for this session for anyone who has them, or if you just have general trading questions, throw them out as well. Oh, it's completely missed. So we got another person in our group from Algeria. Hey, glad to welcome him to the group as well. Just looking to see who was the person who asked earlier about Tradovate. Oh, that was DB. I think it was DB. Yep. All right, Tommy. Good to have you in the room as well. I think this might be the first time I've seen you make a comment. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for adding to what we do here and for being a willing participant. Circle like the stream. All right. Glad everyone is enjoying it. So am I. I'm having a good time doing it. So I'll keep coming back and glad that you were doing the same. Let's see. Any final questions? Another minute or so. And DB, are you still in the room? You still need help with your Tradovate setup? Okay. I makes from New York. Okay, trading 2 years. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think you're in a similar boat as most of us. Most of us are anywhere from 1 to 3 years, it seems, although we do have a few with less experience and more experience. Yeah, good point. I hate scammers. Hopefully, not many in our Discord. We just started it, so it's it's pretty new. But yeah, I hate scammers as well. All right, DB, are you still here? Jump in the chat if you're still listening. All right, guys, we've seen an even deeper retracement here, and so that 107 level is not, doesn't look like it's going to happen before lunch. Well, it's lunch now, so it didn't happen before lunch. Maybe there'll be an afternoon target, but we'll see. For now, price is crashing. We see it down now to the 71% level and getting closer to that 78% with the fair value gap that I mentioned earlier. I'd like to see it retrace to before taking a long. So we'll see how that works over lunchtime, but I'm not going to take this entry. Cool, calm, collected. That is. Cool, calm, collected. We are trading futures here. We're not doing options or shares. We're trading futures. So I guess that's a share, maybe. But yeah, we take when trading E-mini or E-micro futures, you purchase contracts, which I guess are similar to shares. No, well, I do mention economic news, but we do that at the very beginning. So if you weren't here at 9:15, that's when we talked about the news where we had unemployment and building permits above expectation, but then we saw the manufacturing index falling below. So it's contracting a bit more than they thought it would. So as you're looking at currency, which all of these numbers are affecting the dollar. So you're thinking about when you see news, it's like, how does this impact the dollar? And then when you figure out how it impacts the dollar, then you flip it over to indices and say, okay, now what do I expect from indices? But unemployment and building permits, so the dollar should raise, as it should be strengthened by having more people paying taxes, less people pulling on unemployment benefits, those kind of things. Building permits, obviously you got money moving around, so that means that we're also lending money. So you're going to be bringing in money from interest rates and those kind of things. But then on the manufacturing index, if we're not making as many products, then the economy potentially could contract. And so that's why we got these confluences or these contradicting numbers here, whereas one is benefiting the dollar and the other is showing that it might be getting weaker in the future. And then you just take that and you apply that to the indices that you're trading. So I do mention it. I don't jump all over it, especially when there's nothing during our session. This happened at 8:30 and we arrive at 9:15. So I quickly go over it, but I don't harp on it. Tomorrow we do have red folder at 10 o'clock. So during the session, we'll be looking at this and talking about it. And as we look into next week is really crazy because 10 o'clock on Tuesday, 9:45 on Wednesday, 10 o'clock on Thursday, 10 o'clock on Friday. So during the session next week, Tuesday through Friday, we'll be talking about what the news is doing to price as we're watching it. All right, everyone. I didn't see DB jump back in, so either he figured it out or maybe he or she had to go, and so I'm probably not going to be able to help them. But I do want to thank you all for joining the session again today. Thank you all for being supportive of me and the channel. Some people have already joined the Discord. It's not fully functional yet, but we're getting there. But again, thank you for your support of me. Thank you for your support of the channel. Thank you for supporting each other. And we'll all get there together. So until the next session in 55 minutes, cheers. Take care, everyone. See you next time.